You don't even know the half of what oneui can do. Here are 5 features I bet you didn't know. Let's go. If you're new to Tech with Benefits, welcome. But also, where have you been? I cover everything to do with Samsung, whether that be the hardware, reviews, the software, I cover it all. In the last couple of months, I've not really dove deep into some of the nitty-gritty of the features. Today, that changes. I'm going to uncover and show you 5 features that I think you haven't used, and maybe you might want to. Diving straight in, the first one is to do with motion photo, but not necessarily motion photo as a feature because it's been around since Galaxy S7. There's some new ones that Samsung have thrown in with the latest few versions of One UI. To recap what a motion photo is, when you turn it on in the camera app, it's the little icon in the top right corner. It basically will capture the first 3 seconds before you hit that shutter button. There has been a change now where you can capture the 1.5 before and 1.5 after, but effectively it captures video before the photo and saves it within the photo file as the video clip. It also stores the audio too, if you want to retain that. When you're in the gallery, you can see view motion photo and it'll play that clip for you. And another great thing about it is you can extract any frame from that video clip and then save it as a separate photo. There's also a way in the editing tool to go in and choose the frame that you want to be the main image. But the main part is obviously the fact that it retains that video that you can then choose from later. What Samsung have added now is a couple of extra things. Right at the top right corner, above the photo in the gallery, you'll see where it says motion photo features. There's a little drop-down menu now. You can press that and then it gives you extra options to sort of turn that video clip into something else. You've got a boomerang, which is cool because it will turn it into like one of those forward reverse things like you see on Instagram. It's got a slow-mo where it will automatically slow part of the video clip down and then you can obviously save that as a part of the video clip. Or you can just turn it off altogether.
Someone's at the entryway doorbell.
That was the edge going back to Samsung. It's fine. I bought my own. The motion photo being off means that it's just going to have the static image and you don't get to view the motion photo. You can save any of these as individual video clips. So you can go in and choose to download video and then it will save them as the one that you've selected. Part of One UI 7, and especially with the S25 series, is something called Best Face, where when you go into the editing or swipe up on the photo and it's a motion photo, it will sort of extract better versions of the face for you to choose to then replace the one that it's actually captured. And it does it really seamlessly. The example I've got here is obviously my son smiled for 3 seconds straight, which is a miracle. So it didn't really pick a better one, but you can go into any motion photo where there's people and choose the best face from it and then replace it. So if you're not already using motion photo and you don't mind taking up a bit extra storage space, switch it on because you do get a whole bunch of more features and can bring your photos to life a bit more. Second one is staying in the gallery to do with clipping images. So let's say, again, I'll use this same photo. You've got an image of something that you'd like to clip. You don't want the background, you just want the subject. If you long press on the subject, it will then extract it out from the background and then you can do some things with it. The obvious one is to save it as a sticker, stickers being the little things that sort of live in Samsung keyboard that you can attach to messages or even attach them to photos, but I'll show you that in a moment. Sort of tying back in to the motion photo element, if it is a motion photo and you've extracted that sticker, you can actually save it as a GIF or a moving sticker. So that way, again, it saves it in that sticker section, but it's a moving version of it, which I think is really cool. But this image clipper sort of works in a whole bunch of different ways. Once you've sort of extracted that image, you can copy it. So I was saying before, you can attach it into edited photos. If I go into Galaxy AI and I want to sort of superimpose something into that photo and maybe delete something as well or change the angle of it, once it's been copied, it adds it to the clipboard. And then in the top right corner, when I hit the 3 dots, I can paste it in from the clipboard and it'll bring that sticker or that sort of cutout straight into it. But I could also drag and drop it too. So if I've got a messages or like an email or a notes file open, I can clip that bit of the image out and then drag it down into the notes and it attaches it. There's also a little fun thing I noticed too, is that if the notes and galleries open at the same time, it'll sort of link that together and then you can automatically attach the image straight into Samsung Notes. Not clipped, but just something I found along the way. You can also clip from videos. Not while they're sort of happening, the instant slow-mo will sort of take over. But if you've paused the video clip and you love the frame that you've paused on and you want to extract that sort of subject out, long press on it while it's paused. And again, you can do the whole things of saving it as a sticker, copy it, whatever you want to do, and keep it. Third one is floating keyboard. Samsung keyboard as a whole is my favorite keyboard to use. Duh, obviously. No surprises there. But the floating keyboard element kind of allows you to control the keyboard experience a bit more. It's borrowed from the tablets and the foldables, but there's also other parts of it as well. So not only can you make the keyboard a bit more one-handed friendly, where you select one-handed mode and it kind of shifts it to either side of the screen and you can tap to move it. You can also change the keyboard size, which can make it taller or shorter so it doesn't dominate the screen as much. But the floating keyboard will completely dismantle it from that bottom section of the screen and allow you to position it anywhere in the window. Depending on what it is you're sort of entering, this could be great because you don't necessarily have to have it intrude on what you're doing. So it can be sort of tucked away in the top corner if you're happy to put it there and leave the bottom section free to look at. When you're done with the floating keyboard, you simply just have to drag it over the top of the section that you want it to go back to, and the animations will take care of the rest. Number 4 is called easy mode. Now, this isn't going to be for everyone. Definitely not for me. But if you're finding that the phone's operating system is a little bit too finicky, a little bit too sort of sparse, and everything's a little bit too small, flick it into easy mode because that will automatically change it into be a bigger format. It's under display settings in the settings menu, and then you flick it on, and there's a couple of toggles in here that you can interact with. The first is the touch and hold delay, where you can actually set it to decide how long you have to touch and hold on an app before it can sort of be dragged or moved or that sort of action can take place. You can change it, and then you can practice it. So if you want to touch and hold, it sort of shows you with a bit of a guide how long you need to hold it for, and then you sort of release it, and then it lets you know you've done a good job. There's also the high contrast keyboard options in here as well, and that's of course going to help with vision and eyesight to go along with everything being bigger. Because as soon as you exit out of the settings, everything's massive. App icons are massive. Everything is gridded out a lot larger, so you're not having as much on the screen, but it looks a lot neater. There's also other things that I think are quite cool. They've added in like a camera magnifier on the home screens. And when you click on that, it activates the camera with a sort of a unique app that allows you to sort of zoom in on stuff like a magnifier. Some things are disabled, like edge panels, but if you don't use them, it doesn't matter. But as you sort of scroll through everything, you sort of notice the extra features, like the ability to add contacts into a whole page on the home screen. The app drawer is now sort of horizontal swipes instead of vertical. It sort of really does tailor it towards people who just want a simpler experience on their phone. Not me though, I like the complex nature of it, but what's great is that as soon as you exit out of easy mode, it goes back to the way it was before. You don't have to set it all up again. And the last one I want to show is instant games. It's within Game Launcher, or Gaming Hub as it's now called. But basically, I think what this sort of does is add the convenience of smartphone gaming. A lot of the times with smartphones, with the heavier games, you're waiting for them to load. You've either got to do an update, you've got to go through all the sign-in process, and it's a lot. And sometimes you don't have that much time to play games, so you just end up getting out of it and being frustrated. With instant games, you don't have to stress over loading times or waiting periods. You just go through the instant games list, select the game, and play. Very simple and very fun. And if you're in the waiting room for a doctor, or if you've just got some time to kill on the couch, it's actually quite a good way of just engaging in something fun and quick, and then you can close it without feeling too bad because there's not a lot at stake with the game that you're playing. It was something that I first took note of with the Flip and the cover screen. It had the little instant games, whereas now they've sort of brought that and expanded it into the gaming hub and allowed you to do that too. Now, I have got a Nintendo Switch 2, which I am planning on doing a smartphone versus Nintendo Switch gaming comparison on. Need a bit of time for that one. So if you're interested in what you want to know about the two, gaming on a console or handheld console versus a smartphone, let me know in the comments below. Hit subscribe for that video. If you want to get earlier access to that video, you can join as a member. Either way, I'm fine. And I'll see you guys in the next one. You!